So go ahead and say, let's do the IASH intro first.
Okay.
And you can cut in whenever you want.
Okay. Are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just checking. All right. First of all, I'd like to welcome those of you who have joined us at IASH 2010. We've got a real treat today. We have one of my longtime students, Stuart Baxter, who is going to share the Compulsion Blow Out with us in the area of addictions. And he does several things on there that I think will be really useful to any of you who deal with that population or who might run across that in the future. I'm from NLP Midwest. My name's Dee Kinder. I've owned the Institute since 1994 in Omaha, Nebraska. Stuart is one of the reasons that I started that institute. We may tell you a little about that later on, but we just want you to know who's here, what we're trying to do, and how useful this is going to be to you. Stuart, would you tell them a little bit about you?
Well, I'm a long since retired Presbyterian pastor, and I learned about NLP in the pastorate from a Methodist minister who taught the stuff very effectively early on.
And some of those folks may know who he is.
I'm trying to say his name.
Gene Rooney?
Gene Rooney, yeah. And Gene went and took full training in counseling and found out it wasn't helping very much, and somebody pointed out NLP to him, and he said it was good enough that he couldn't afford not to teach it to pastors at a price that they could afford, and have to hand it to him for making this available to us. I didn't do very well in my courses with him because I had enough pressure on me in the pastorate that I was not in a very good frame of mind, but working with you here in this facility fine-tuned what I learned from Gene, and I found it very useful in the pastorate, just absolutely marvelous in the pastorate. And I hope that somehow that we'll be able to make it a very routine thing in the preparation of people for ministry. But right now, what we really want to point out is that when Steve and Connie Ray put this thing in their book, they don't mention one word about the fact that it's being useful in mood-altering substances. And when I called Steve's attention to that fact, he said, well, shame on me. And I don't want to shame on him. I just want people to know that if you go to the book and follow it, then you can apply it not only to unrequited love affairs and the fact that you eat too much peanut butter, but also to mood-altering substance in a way which has, well, I've been doing it for 10 years, and people will call me and say, I ran into a guy in the grocery store just last week, and he came up and shook my hand and greeted me so warmly, and finally I said, where do I know you? And he said, a year ago today, I did the Compulsion Blow Out with you at the treatment center. And I said, okay, how's it going? What were you addicted to? And he said, alcohol. And I said, what happens when you walk over there through the alcohol section of the grocery store? And he said, no big deal, I just go right on past it. So,
well, Stuart, I think you've had lots and lots of those experiences I've heard you talk about.
Yeah, and it's not as many as I like, but because mostly I don't know what happens to people. But nevertheless, when I do find out, it's either somebody calls and wants a tune-up, they know that it was an important part of their treatment and they want a tune-up, or they just call to say, this is one guy that I didn't know I'd worked with, I said, I wish you could come in and watch me work, and he got a kind of funny look on his face, and so I shut up, and he said, I did this with you 3.5 years ago. You changed my life. So that was,
Well, the thing I'm excited about, Stuart, is that by you agreeing to do this, as well as Samara, who's been willing to be photographed and videotaped, we're going to get a whole lot more little clones of Stuart Baxter out on the street all over the world doing this, hopefully.
you know, when you figure that I'm 83 years old, we better be getting some clones out there pretty quick.
Well, we've talked about it and dreamed about it for a long time, haven't we? So
Yeah.
this is the step, and the way the world is utilizing the internet at this point, we can get this out pretty quickly, not only locally and in some of the, hopefully the colleges and universities, but to the people at IASH, because they are from all over the world, and not only those who are sitting in this room today, but the ones who will buy the tapes and learn it that way. So we're excited about that, and thank you for sharing this. I know you've been one of the ones that loved to make that trip to IASH and learn as much as you could and rub elbows with all of those dignitaries, so to speak, and you know, the thing that's wonderful is that with this meeting we can take you with us this time too.
I'd be glad to have you take me with you this way.
Okay. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of the setup of what you're going to be doing then with Samara?
Well, we will be doing as advertised the Compulsion Blow Out, which was developed, I think, by Steve and Connie Ray, although it may have been something that they just fine-tuned from Richard Bandler. And we will not only do the Compulsion Blow Out, but we'll do the twin piece that is the swish that leaves you with something positive rather than just taking something away.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I want to, we're going to do state management and hope that people find them useful.
So the folks today are going to get 3 for 1, right? 3 for the price of 1. Can't beat that. Thank you, Stuart. Thanks for joining us. And you know, there's a whole lot to know about this guy that I have so much respect for. He and another fellow named Nick Stefaro are the ones that said, you know, we need to do practitioner here. We went and got the information in North Dakota, and now we want to get a certificate. So that was the beginning of my institute offering practitioner masters in health training. Stuart's taken every one of those, and just has been such an inspiration and a coach during many trainings at the institute. People just love his input, and he is meticulous when he does these things. So we just have appreciated his support all the way along, and just finally glad to pull this together and get it out to the world.
Very good.
Good end. Okay.
You want to start over again and do it while I'm not eating candy?